Muchachos, welcome back to the SoFlo Soccer channel. My name is Mad, and the international break has officially started. In this video, we're going to talk about the games that Argentina is going to be playing against Uruguay and Brazil. We'll go over some of the news for some of the players. We'll go over the list. So this is the official list of players that will be partaking in these next two games against Uruguay and Brazil. Obviously, there are huge names that are missing from this list. Lionel Messi, obviously, being the biggest one, which we'll go over just a little bit because I already talked about it in a previous video. Dybala is not here. Molina, or not Molina, Montiel is not here. Garnacho is not here. Acuna is also not here. So we have there's just been a lot of changes to this team already. But I'll go over it really quickly. Obviously, Lionel Messi, if you haven't heard the news already, has suffered a slight injury in his adductor in the leg that has been bothering him for what it feels like his entire life now, and he will not travel with Argentina, or I should say, he did not travel with Argentina for these next two games against Brazil and Uruguay. Instead, he will stay with Miami to fully recover. I mean, now that they're going to have essentially 2 weeks of rest, hopefully that should really help him. And it must suck for Argentina because honestly, as a player for the Argentinian national team, as un argentino, as un jugador de la selección, this you want to play these types of games, right? Like a game against Uruguay, a game against Brazil, like you live for those games. You literally live and die for those games. And the fact that Lionel Messi is not going to be there, I know it really hurts him. He did put out this message on Instagram when they announced that his injury was going to take place. This is una lástima perderme estos dos partidos tan especiales con la selección contra Uruguay y Brasil, como siempre quería estar, pero en el último momento una lesión no muy importante que me obliga a parar por un tiempo antes de volver a jugar me dejó afuera. Desde acá voy a estar alentando y acompañando como un hincha más. Vamos Argentina. So essentially, you obviously could tell he's very devastated. The fact that he had to publish this message, the fact that even Inter Miami, which they never do, they announced the fact that he was actually injured. That's not something that never happens. But it obviously sucks for him. It sucks for la selección. But honestly, I'm trying to look at the positive side here. I think a game without Messi or two games without Messi in these World Cup qualifiers may actually, I don't want to say help, but it may actually kind of define Argentina to see how well they can play again without Messi. We have seen this team play without Messi and they've done pretty well. But we would love to see that again against two very big nations, Uruguay being obviously semifinalists in the Copa America. And for this Brazil side, they have struggled on the international stage as of late, but their players in Europe, like Rafinha, like Vinicius Jr., are in form for their respective clubs. So coming back to the Brazilian national team, they should be able to play well, or you at least think so. So these are obviously two really big contests, two really big tests for this Argentinian national team without their captain, Lionel Messi. So now that Lionel Messi is gone, I mean, like the most, I guess, reliable or the most predictable player that would kind of take his place would be Dybala. He's not here too. So the question is, who is going to be replacing Messi for these next two games? And it's going to be Nico Gonzalez, like 100%. Scaloni really likes Nico Gonzalez, despite what everyone else thinks. I'm not the biggest fan of Nico Gonzalez, but he is probably the guy that will replace Lionel Messi on the field. Don't know if he's going to play from both games. I guess it kind of depends on how well he does, but most likely he will play both of those games. But yeah, it's going to suck not having Dybala. It's honestly going to suck too without having Garnacho. He was not selected because of footballing reasons, I guess because he wasn't playing well, or Scaloni didn't think he was playing well enough to be called up to the national team, which I don't entirely disagree with, but at the same time, it's like I mean, like I feel like Garnacho hasn't done insanely bad. I mean, if Scaloni thinks that it's not good enough to be called up for the national team, then it is what it is. But I also feel like at the same time, he wasn't called up, and maybe a couple of other players weren't called up, was the fact that I think that Scaloni wants to instill this idea in these players' heads that there is competition in this team and your spot is not guaranteed. And I feel like Garnacho, that's like a big message that I think Garnacho should be taking in, because the fact is, and the reality is that Garnacho is an experienced Argentina national team player. He's been called up to the national team a couple of times now, compared to some of the other guys who barely played for the national team. And the World Cup is a year away, so when the World Cup is a year away, you want to call up the players that will be playing in next year's World Cup, and that's just a fact. But we have Scaloni now bringing in these younger guys, trying to test them out, trying to see if they could fit into the squad and possibly replace maybe even Garnacho and some other players who don't live up to that expectation that Scaloni has for this team. In Garnacho's place specifically, Benja Dominguez was called up. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I've watched Bologna play and I know how Dominguez plays. I'm just not that guy. But from what I have heard about Dominguez and about Bologna, apparently they've been doing really well. So and better than Garnacho apparently. So I will back Dominguez and he'll probably get a start. Like if he actually is doing better than Garnacho this year with Bologna, he'll probably get a start or at least come off the bench at some point within these next 2 games, which is also something that we have to take into consideration because, I mean, 2 games in 4 days is always very scary. And nowadays in football, I mean, we want to talk about fatigue. Clubs are worried about their players getting injured, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll expect a lot of rotation. Well, expect somewhat of a rotation between the Uruguay and Brazil game. So I don't think we're going to be seeing too many players play both games. And Lautaro Martinez has already been confirmed that he will not play the game against Uruguay. That's been confirmed. As it says right here, Justin Lautaro Martinez is doubtful for the game. Oh no, here it says is doubtful, but literally in the next tweet it says confirmed. Lautaro Martinez will not be a starter against Uruguay. He aims to play against Brazil, says Gaston Edul. Like this is an example right here. So we're not going to see Lautaro Martinez play against Uruguay. Who's going to be our number 9 against Uruguay? Is it going to be Julian? Are we going to play 2 strikers up top? Is it going to be Julian and like Angel Correa or something? Are we going to see like a full Atletico Madrid front 3 with Correa, Julian, and Giuliano Simeone? There's kind of a lot of options here. In my opinion, against Uruguay, we're probably going to be playing at Nico Gonzalez with Julian Alvarez, and then on the right, we'll probably see either Giuliano Simeone. Because, guys, Giuliano Simeone has been doing very well for Atletico Madrid this season so far, and obviously him and Julian playing the same team. They have that chemistry. So I honestly think that Giuliano Simeone it will be that guy for Scaloni. I mean, as you can see here, they're talking in training. Obviously, Scaloni is talking to everybody in training, but this definitely shows positive signs that he can get a start and he will get a start or at least get some playing time. I actually just saw another tweet by Gaston Edul saying that Lautaro Martinez actually has a slight injury, I guess you would call it. Tiene una molestia. So like something bothers him, something physical bothers him. So that's not really a good sign either. So hopefully he will be able to play against Brazil like 100%, like 100%, 100%, and hopefully he doesn't suffer any sort of injury for when he goes back to Inter, and of course when we have to call him up later for more eliminatorias. So let's look at the list one more time and see who could potentially or how the rest of the squad could potentially line up. I already said for the front 3, it'll probably be, in my opinion, Nico Gonzalez, Julian Alvarez, and Giuliano Simeone. As I'm looking at the list here, I'm thinking of the midfielders that could potentially line up, and automatically I think McAllister, Rodrigo de Paul, and Enzo Fernandez. I think that's going to be the midfield 3. I think McAllister is going to take that number 10 number and like the number 10 shirt, and he'll probably try to fulfill that kind of Messi-ish type of role as like being like a playmaker or just being offensive. I don't know. Like I think McAllister is going to do his best to be at a 10 for this team. And for the back 4, if Scaloni wants to go with his full strength back 4, I think the best defense would be Tagliafico left back, Otamendi with Cristiano Romero, El Cuti Romero. Then at right back, it would be Molina. And then obviously El Divo would be in goal. So I think that's how it's going to line up for me personally. I honestly think that's the best 11 that you can put out there for this Argentinian national team. And I think off the bench, we'll most likely be seeing players like Angel Correa. We'll probably see Nico Paz, even Santiago Castro. We'll probably see Almada come off the bench as well. In the defense, we'll probably see Otamendi come off at some point, maybe for Valerdi. It's obviously all situational, and we obviously won't know who would come off the bench. But I think most likely, I mean, like we've seen players like Nico Paz, Santiago Almada, Paredes, those kinds of players come off the bench. So that most likely will happen this time around against obviously these big nations. So, I mean, we'll just have to see. But I'm still rooting, I'm still expecting pretty big things from Argentina, like in terms of winning. I know against Uruguay specifically, we didn't win. I believe we lost 2-0 with goals from Araujo and Darwin Nunez. That was back like 2 years ago, I think. Uruguay, obviamente, tiene un equipazo. They have an amazing team, guys. And so, obviously, Valverde is probably the biggest player that I can say would be like the most threatening. Obviously, they have Araujo. Now that I'm thinking about it, let me show you guys how we lined up last time against Uruguay. So this was back in November 2023, Uruguay versus Argentina in the World Cup qualifying as well. We lost 2-0 with goals from Araujo and Darwin Núñez. I got that right. Yeah, we lined up El Diego Martinez, Molina, Romero, Otamendi, Tagliafico. Same thing as I said. De Paul, Macalister Fernandez. Same thing as I said actually. And then Messi, Alvarez, and Nico Gonzalez. And with all the respect, I didn't even realize that we lined up the same thing that I essentially said or in my prediction. But it's kind of obvious that that is our best 11 that we can put out there. So if we take Messi out, you put Giuliano, Nico Gonzalez is going to stay up. Obviously, we didn't play the best in this game. Uruguay was way better than us in this game, clearly. The way that they have Rocher, they have Vino, Oliveira, Caceres, Araujo, Valverde, Ugarte, Araujo on the left wing, De La Cruz in the camp, Pelistri right wing, and then Darwin Nunez up top. And they called up essentially the same players as last time, but this is still a very difficult team, a very physical team, a very high caliber Uruguay team that could really, really give us a good game. I still think we should win it though. But yeah, guys, after the game, I will be going live around 9:30. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that notification for when I do go live. It's gonna be a post-game reaction, the same thing I do with my Inter Miami contest. So you're into that, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss that. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Argentina international duty. We have Brazil, Uruguay. These are two huge games that I'm very excited for, and I can't wait to watch them, and I can't wait to react to them with you guys. So hopefully we can get the result against Uruguay. Anything comes up, or if any other updates come up before the Brazil game, we're gonna make another video before it as well, and then we're gonna go live for both games. Like I said, make sure to hit like, make sure to subscribe, share it with your friends. See you guys after the game on Friday. Vamos Argentina.